All right. For the first time on Break It Down with Brian H., I have an in-person guest. For the first time with somebody who's not on the wrestling realm, but for the first time a returning guest coming in person. For the first time. It's actually since like 2022. Actually 2023. It was like an NXT show. You don't even remember.
I don't.
Me, you, CNO, Justin, when the fan club invaded?
Yes.
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
Ladies and gentlemen, coming up on this episode of Break It Down with Brian H., we got to talk about it. Now, we on vacation. But something happened on Monday Night Raw. Something so devastating. The New Day. They went in a different direction. Coming up after the intro.
No, baby, that's for somebody else. We're just going to keep you right where you're at right now.
It doesn't matter what you think.
The Wrestling Realm presents Break It Down with Brian H.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this episode of Break It Down with Brian H. I'm your host, Brian H. Woods. This show, of course, is brought to you by The Wrestling Realm. Also, shout out the Chalk Line for the jacket. But most importantly, I have on the show, better half, the one, the only, the lovely Miss Queen PR of those wrestling girls.
Yay.
Of WWE meets pop culture, and just a icon.
Thank you.
How are you feeling today?
I feel so good.
Feel good?
Yes, I feel so good. I love this chocolate on you.
Yeah.
I love being here with you.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't wait to get into some
Shout out to you
stuff.
with the Roosevelts.
Thank you very much. This is one of my favorites.
Undertaker's our favorite wrestler.
No, he is not. But he usually has good merch. Can we agree on that?
Yeah, we can agree. But today, we got to talk about. See, we had to interrupt the vacation because sometimes you sit back and you watching something, and as content creators, as hard workers we are, sometimes we get that itch. So shout out to her because I had an itch, I had to scratch it. The New Day. Now we were sitting here Monday night. We watched it. We watched it unfold. We saw Kofi. We saw Xavier. They came out. New Day music. One of your favorite people on the planet of professional wrestling, Big E, came down. We heard the music. Y'all want to go big? Then say that. Shout out to Wale. What was your thought when Big E came out?
I was hoping he would be there because it was the 10-year anniversary of the New Day.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can't not have Big E make a presence because, he's injured, but it's not like he's been gone. He's a part of every pre-show. He's served as WWE ambassador for the most part.
Yeah.
Traveled around the world and is doing really cool shit still with the company. So I was like, okay, are we not going to see Big E? We saw some conflict brewing between Kofi and Xavier Woods.
Why would you say that?
Why would you trip him? So we've seen them argue, which I've been obsessed with like the past couple months. So you wonder, like, what are they going to do for the 10-year anniversary? And Big E had to be there. When I heard his music, I was like, yes, because it was right when it felt like Kofi and Xavier were going to get into it. And then you heard Big E's music and it was like, oh, okay, what are we going to do? And Big E is usually the voice of reason.
Yeah.
He is usually the one everyone talks very highly of him about how he is just a really good guy. If there's anyone that can talk sense into Kofi and Xavier and just see where they went wrong with each other as a team, it would be Big E. But things didn't go that way.
It didn't. And the reason why I wanted to do this show with you, because I know that you are a huge connoisseur of the podcast.
I love the New Day.
We both read the article. And I'm glad I didn't read it before Monday Night Raw. And I think I'm kind of glad I didn't because it probably would have kind of, I don't know, it may have swayed me to feel some sort of way. But I'm also glad I read it before we sat down and recorded. When you read the article, first of all, before we jump into that, right, we saw Big E talk about, we read Big E talk about his upbringing. And it looked like, when I was reading, I was like, you know how you can read a long piece? Like, you're somebody who reads a lot. And you know how you read a long article, but it's like, wow, this is like, first you look at it, you scroll through it, you say, well, this is intimidating. But then it's like, wait a minute, this ain't that bad. No. What was your thought when you first like read it and everything, because you like read it before I did, and I didn't even know you read it.
There's like so many levels to it. Just from a lens of the evolution of like sports media, because the Players Tribune, I just learned about where that came from.
Yeah.
And it was Derek Jeter who wanted to basically give voice to athletes because he wasn't a fan of press, as we know, and he wanted athletes to be able to speak for themselves. So the fact that the New Day, such an iconic and prolific tag team that has been a part of WWE history for 10 years straight. So insane to even think about. And then for the Players Tribune to be able to kind of give Big E the space to write an open letter. Because like he said in the beginning, one of like in the start of the article was like, I don't know if New Day saved my wrestling career or my life. And the fact that you can, because 10 years of your life is 10 years of your life.
It is.
Regardless if you're reflecting on a work opportunity or a marriage or anything for 10 years in your life is crazy. And the fact that he was able to kind of share his story in a way that he never really has before was like really, really special. So being able to, and he's a brilliant writer, and he's very, if you've listened to the New Day pod, you know that he's very articulate and is able to, all three of them actually, in the New Day, like very intelligent, well-spoken, articulate. So hearing and reading his words was so refreshing.
Yeah.
Like, because these factions, they become a part of your life. Like, you know, whether or not like the New Day over the years, like even if they weren't in top spots, like if you went to a live show and you heard that beat drop of their music or the feel the power, you know, anything that they did, you felt it, and it made a difference in your life. So I thoroughly enjoyed the article. I loved learning more about him and just seeing where his life is now compared to before the New Day was even a thing.
Yeah. You said it. I can't really add much to that, because you know, only thing I'll say is like he talked about possibly being a literature major, and I could see it.
Absolutely.
You know, reading that, and you know, like again, we consume a lot of media, but we also read a lot. We read a lot of books or listen. We read a lot of articles, not just like just reading clips. So it's like, you know, shout out to Big E, but I want to jump into Monday Night Raw. You talked about the music hits. He comes out there. And I'm like, when he said, I want to be your manager, was it a little disappointing? Because I felt like, okay, you're going to try to keep them together. This is the way we're going to do it. So there's going to be a conflict somewhere. The moment they became one unit, I want you to take the people to the way Queen PR, one of Big E's biggest fans, felt when they told that man that another guy who we all know, anybody who knows, when you know those wrestling girls, you know you have Stone Cold Steve Austin and you have The Rock, a.k.a. Queen PR and Krista B. When they brought up Stone Cold Steve Austin came back from a neck injury. What was your thoughts?
Well, they had a point. The only point that they made is that people have had these sort of injuries and still managed to be on TV every week. So I think if they're saying like, okay, yes, once you had your surgery, once you were healed, like you could have kind of been there for us. That's not wrong.
You've been fair.
You know what I'm saying? It's all a fair assessment, but I feel like this was the best way to break up the New Day, because, or at least what we know of the iteration of New Day, because I've been feeling for a long time, and I don't know if this is an unpopular or a popular opinion at this point, but I felt like the New Day was getting a bit dry.
Let's be real. Was it when Kofi started wearing them like Team U pants that he got from Shein?
I don't know, honestly, but it came to a point where it was like the New Day weren't doing anything that excited me. Okay. They weren't doing anything where I was looking forward to whatever they were doing next week. Now, when I saw them on my TV, like I said, when I heard that beat drop, was I excited? Absolutely. But I was really like, okay, what can they do to make this feel fresh again? people teased the heel turn at one point. And then obviously Big E was able to do his singles run, which was awesome. And then he got hurt, and then it was just like Kofi and Xavier, and then I felt like they were using them to put over like other newer tag teams. And then after that, I was kind of like, okay, like, what do we? I remember they had like a month-long feud with the Viking Raiders.
Yeah, the Viking Raiders.
And I was just like, what is this doing for anyone? And then once they started teasing their breakup, because I'm here for the spiciness.
Yeah.
Because it does help. Like, it's exciting. Huh?
You're a heel. You might be the heel now.
I don't know, but I mean, I love witnessing it. Okay. Like, I love witnessing it. I thought that would be like fun and refreshing, and then them arguing, I thought was just like so fucking funny. Mm-hmm. And I knew that something had to be done. So I think them sort of turning on Big E made the most sense, because he can't wrestle. He wanted to come back as their manager. But I want to ask you, do you think that could have worked? Like, let's say like if, things didn't go left on Monday Night Raw and Big E showed up offering to be their manager, like, do you think that could have worked? Would you have been excited to see that?
No, I wouldn't, unless there was conflict, right? Maybe it was a time where, and again, this is where you have to look at it like, okay, the long term. If you would have did it that way, and then maybe he would have picked a side. Because like, well, you're showing Kofi more attention or Xavier more attention. So I don't think it would have worked. I will say, like right now, our wrestling intellect tells us what's going to happen is New Day is going to go on this Monster Heel run. We know Judgment Day are having sort of their issues. They're the tag team champions, for those who do not know. So it's like, okay, it's set. New Day will probably take us into 2025 as the new world tag team champions, right? Plus, they got to get those belts around. It's brand new belts. Mm-hmm. But what I really still want to see is maybe a mutual understanding of just heel dominance between Kofi and Xavier Woods.
Okay.
I want to see Xavier Woods with championship gold.
So you see the new iteration with New Day without Big E regardless? Because he is not medically cleared to wrestle yet. I have a feeling that he will not get back in the ring, and I'm not wishing ill will on his health. I'm saying I think he's just in a better position to not wrestle. Yeah. And everyone knows my stance on that. Like, the wrestling business, you cannot take bumps for the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. Sorry, Ric Flair. You need other avenues of
bump card runs
work
out.
And I think Big E is in such a great place to have still a very active presence in the wrestling business. So it's like, if you don't need to take bumps anymore, then don't take bumps anymore. I do also have a very controversial take on Xavier Woods holding championship gold. I think he would be an excellent Intercontinental champion. I think he'll be an excellent United States champion. If that, I just don't believe that everyone needs to be world champion because they've been around. Like, every excuse, like, yes, you can be like an A+ wrestler, you can be over with the fans, but I just feel like the world championship is something that should just be so exclusive, like so selective, that it's like, if everyone, just because we like the guy, again, prove me wrong.
Yeah.
Prove me wrong. There's moments that come together in this business. Kofi Mania is one of those examples where,
I was gonna go there, but I'm gonna let you finish.
Right, like no one, that wasn't even in anyone's fucking plans. I don't even think Kofi's plans that year, but just the universe kind of came together the way it was supposed to come together. But I don't see Big E coming back as an in-ring competitor. And so if you're going to make the New Day or remaining New Day heels or the new iteration, it had to just be Kofi and Xavier.
I like what you said. And like I said, I want to see Xavier wear championship gold being the mid-card title, right? This iteration of Xavier Woods, I think I like the idea of an Xavier Woods being a world champion as being an unapologetic black nerd who's a PhD candidate as a world champion in professional wrestling. I like that idea.
On paper.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. On paper. But the iteration of Xavier Woods now and every iteration of him, no. I don't need to see that as world champion. I still don't need it to be force fed. Like you said, Kofi Mania. If you would have told me, I'm gonna be real with you, prior to 2019, no Kofi merch. The merch that I had was the New Day Funko Pops. That was it. I was never the biggest Kofi Kingston guy. I mean, I respected him. I liked him for being on television, but you wasn't gonna catch me playing with him on video games. You wasn't gonna catch none of that. But then Kofi Mania hit. And when that moment when he stood in the ring with AJ Styles and said, I've been trying after this for 11 years. You ain't gonna take this from me. It was like a light bulb went off. Did he sell you on that right away? Did it take a while for you?
You're trying to set me up.
No, I'm saying we just talk about not that particular story, but did you see him then, or did it take a little bit more seasoning into Kofi Mania for you to see, okay, I get it now? Because sometimes that's what right story, right time. Yeah. Jey Uso's the perfect example.
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
Now I don't know how you feel about Jey Uso being a world champion, but Intercontinental champion.
Same thing for me.
Did you even see him being a single star? No. Let alone the Intercontinental title champion.
No, because I'm one of those people who my mindset when it comes to wrestling, it maybe in a bit is more on the traditional side, where I'm used to like the world champion being like this like unattainable, like very select few, like you have to possess a very particular type of it factor to be a world champion, because then if everyone that's a decent wrestler can become world champion, then like what are we fucking doing? And again, there's a lot of other championship belts. Like I love that Jey Uso was able to become Intercontinental champion. I would love if Xavier Woods can ultimately do that. Kofi Mania, like famously, I was
I said the story, not the particular story.
I know, but I'm saying like I never imagined Kofi as world champion to the point where I went into WrestleMania. I loved Kofi Mania off the simple fact that I liked Kofi.
Okay.
But if in my mind before Mania, I was like, if he doesn't walk out as world champion, like I kind of expected that, because that's not, no one ever imagined Kofi being fucking world champion. You know what I'm saying?
So when you saw
but
the group,
but I do want to know, one of the things that made Kofi Mania even more special was the New Day. Yeah. The fact that Big E and Xavier Woods came out to the ring and were more emotional than Kofi was when he won. The fact that they got put through hell so that he can keep his opportunity. It all was a part of New Day. So it's hard to like make a call on that.
Now, when you saw the New Day as a whole and you looked at the group, Big E had that factor right away?
Yes.
Yeah, because I was
as in to be world champion? Yeah. I mean, I this is the thing, like people that are not put in positions to be a big player in WWE, I'm not always thinking that they need to be world. You know what I'm saying? Like they were a tag team to me. I never thought like Big E it never crossed my mind. Kofi being champion never ever crossed my mind, like ever. So that's
it makes sense, because like when I'm sitting there, I'm listening to you with an open mind, and when you say everybody only be a world champion, a couple names that just jump out the mind. I go back to like the NWA days, right? I don't know because I wasn't there, but like people saying, okay, Ronnie Garvin, I know he had the hands of stone, but he was a world champion. Or even Barry Windham was a world champion. It's like, now controversial. Maybe it's not controversial. You know who's one of my favorite people of all time? Kerry Von Erich. Most people say the only reason why he was a world champion is because of his brother David's death. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, but Kerry had it. He whoa.
I am so we have a lot of like inside jokes, I guess.
Yeah, go ahead.
My reactions to things, people may not understand my reactions to things, but I'm not saying that Kerry,
you know Kerry was
Von Erich deserves to be world champion. It's a whole thing.
But what I'm saying is, I do understand your point about Xavier Woods. But like I said, I'm not clamoring for him to be a world champion, but I do want to see him wear Intercontinental Championship gold.
That would be cool, especially as a heel.
Yeah, but boy, oh boy. Shout out to Big E's lady. Did she fry him?
Yes, because I wanted to get into some of the things that they were saying.
Go ahead, yeah.
Because they very much had a lot of longstanding issues. Like we kind of touched on them saying like, Big E wasn't there for him. He left them hanging and, maybe they needed him to keep things afloat. Like you can't come around, you see us fighting and then you're like, oh my God, but we got to fix this. It's like, no, you left us.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Brought up the girlfriend. So this is why I love wrestling, because it's always a reflection of like real life.
Yeah.
And everyone has that friend where they feel like once they get into a relationship, they like disappear. And it's like, we don't even see you anymore ever since you got with homegirl. So the fact that they brought that up, because that is a natural thing. Like, and Big E talked about his beautiful relationship in the article with the Players Tribune named Sour, which I also thought was cool because that's a part of, don't you dare be sour. And then that reflection was beautiful. But
it was.
He talked about how much life that his girlfriend gives him now and how he loves that. And it's kind of, and this is like God sometimes where, like obviously nobody wants a fucking broken neck. Nobody wants their wrestling in-ring career cut short. But at the same time, like look how much time that he's been able to spend, nurturing this new relationship. If you listen to the New Day pod, like Big E never wanted, like he never craved it for the most part. Like he was like, like I like my own space. I love this. Relationships are not easy for me. And now that he's in this beautiful relationship, it's like, oh, like I love that. But bringing her up was a really good choice because it's like everyone can relate to that, and you be with homegirl all the time. So we have, obviously like we're together, we work a lot together and stuff like that, and we've even had to deal with our friends being like, you guys kind of go in your own little bubble, and and we love that, and we love being in the bubble, with just us. But how did you feel when he called out the girlfriend, and when you saw like Chris's clapbacks on Twitter? Like, what were your thoughts?
I mean, it was hilarious. It was one of those things where, of course, your instinct is like, man, this should have been on TV, but it's so much better that it's not. Like even people say, man, what if we get her doing promos? But I'd rather not. Like, we don't need to go.
Wrestling fans need to calm.
Yeah, they horny. I know what you want to, and not so much in the sexual way.
I know what you mean, but they like, want to see the mixy.
But no, it was hilarious that she was saying things, and people were like, "Oh, because it had you," and then Xavier's going, he's clapping back. He talk about bland food, and then even Mia Yim jumped in and said, "Wow, I thought things was this way, but now forget them two." And that's the best part about the Fifth Element, right? Like Roman Reigns talks about using the cameraman. When he would go out, he said, "This is my cameraman. I'm all this and that." Like we saw that with his match with Jey Uso. We saw it with Logan Paul. Then we see
so sorry.
then we see this with Big E and most wrestlers now using social media. Shout out to Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey.
Yes.
Because that's where
game changer.
We saw it go like on 80 different levels. So I thought it was great. I thought it was beautiful.
Me too.
Because they're gonna go everywhere. Especially because the week before, as far as Kofi and Xavier went with each other. And the stuff that they were saying, and it was like, whoa, we don't talk about Bruno. Nobody talks about the Lesnar situation. It's never been talked about on television. The fact that they went there. So now I'm like, this ain't over. If you think Big E, he was hurt.
He was hurt, and the fans are behind him.
So he's gonna clap back.
It's
like I'm not
significant.
expecting. He's not gonna take this line down.
He's not gonna take a line down. And I just have to, just as a huge fan of the New Day, just say how amazing it is to see that they were able to, first of all, celebrate 10 years at the top, and also choose how they wanted to break up.
I would call it break up. I would call
or
it
not break up, but they were able
evolution.
to.
Remember, he said we can't evolve without you. We couldn't evolve, and again, we couldn't evolve because you wasn't around, or they couldn't turn heel. With Big E still being a murder mix.
Right, and I think that is really cool too, because they did talk a lot on their podcast just about the rumors of if the company ever wanted them to break up just for something to do, and because that's the formula. Let's be real. The formula is tag team. One turns on the other. They try single careers for all of them and see kind of where each fall.
What's the first thing people always say when they look at two tag teams?
The members, like who's going to be the Marty Jannetty, who's going to be the Shawn Michaels. And I love that they were adamant, and that because they were so successful at WWE, they kind of had more of a say of their characters and like what they wanted to do with their characters. So I'm just imagining, behind the scenes, if they chose this way to break up for their 10-year anniversary, like how cool is it that these 3 black men in wrestling were able to sort of call the shots for themselves. And now, because I always think of when like longtime wrestlers get to change characters at the highest level of success, how much fun it must be. Because I'm like, yo, Kofi and Xavier, if they're about to just be this heel ass tag team, they're about to have mad fun.
Yeah.
Because they get to just be fucking bastards. They don't have to turn on each other. They can just literally just be the worst people because they've been baby faces for so many years. And they get to be mean to kids again. And they get to fucking beat up your favorite wrestlers again. That's the shit I live for. So I'm excited for them just in that respect. And then Big E can literally be on the side and doing everything that he's doing and still be involved. I love that Chris, was able to participate on social media where we don't ever need to see his girlfriend on TV, but she can prolong that story. And another point that I wanted to make too is we talk about it all the time with the bloodline, and this is just all kind of non-kayfabe stuff, but how fun it must be to work with their fucking family. Yeah. Like, it has to be so fun. And like for the New Day and Mia Yim and her sister, and Mia Yim being, someone that's been in the game for so long, like how fun must that be? To be able to bring your sister into the fold, have this sweet, fun shit, because I imagine they probably still had dinner. Like, I don't mean to be that person, but just imagine that they can all just
close
have
location, back of the restaurant.
Right, exactly. They can have so much fun. And also, I be seeing her cooking videos. She be making bread from scratch, babe. Like, Big E.
And you know what? Like, we talked to him during SummerSlam weekend. Shout out. Make sure y'all checked out On the Ringer. My interview with him, when I asked him 3 questions. I asked him the last great meal he had. Shout out to Shoemaker for those questions. And one of the meals he talked about was something that she made. She talked about, he was so happy. Like, he talked about how she had him reading books. He wasn't a big reader, but now he is. And it just goes to show you the glow up. And I can relate. Me and Big E was bonding on that. He was like, man, you out here with your woman, I see. And that's the thing, like, you talk to him about Seinfeld and stuff, but we see like the happiness, the glow up. And I'm pretty sure, like we said, taking the kayfabe hat off, they happy now. Okay, we get to evolve, we get to do something different, They probably maximized the merch as far as, they just had that toy line drop. And I remember, shout out to Ben Cruz, my good brother, my co-host from Ring of Wrestling Worldwide. One of the things he talked about was, he kept talking about like their new toys, the new action figures. And we know the real Dwayne Allen is very huge on action figure collections, you know what I mean? And we're like, well, they just got a new action figure, they about to split. No, they said, we just getting started, and we always talk about the prestige of the tag team championships, and people want that so bad. And I know I've been saying Intercontinental Championship, but maybe they do need that next level run, that next level with these new looking belts that's only been held by the Miz and R-Truth and the Judgment Day. Get some New Day dust on them.
Yep. I totally agree, and especially in this new iteration of the New Day, and Big E could be plugged in at any time.
Yeah,
and it will be entertaining to us.
Imagine if he
on
cost
social
them the
media as well.
titles.
Exactly, you never know. And like the manager role, you still mix it up. They make a huge impact. So if Big E is able to do, physically, if those are his limitations as a manager, he can still be very impactful in the future of the New Day, good or bad.
Oh yeah, maybe he might decide like, you know what, y'all right.
Yep.
All right, so years ago, right? This is year 13 of the Wrestling Round. When we first started this show, we had a segment called the Angry Rant. The Angry Rant would be the real Dwayne Allen or I. We would talk about something that just made us angry. You may know where I'm going with this about this whole thing. It's one thing that I saw online that I did not like. Something that had no place. And I try not to be that guy. Rich Holland, stay out of grown folks' business.
Seriously.
We don't need you in this. You are lucky people want to work.
Honestly.
With you. And I know accidents happen.
Okay, but like you injured one of the most beloved wrestlers in the entire world. Like you derailed a former world champion.
Yep.
That's not something that I think that you should be boasting about, especially because it has nothing to do with you. Like it had nothing to do. Like, okay, yeah, they referenced that he's healing from an injury, but like, bro,
the only way I wouldn't have minded it, controversy, is if Kofi and Xavier
mentioned
brought him
it
out.
Right.
That's and they brought him out there
to like troll him or some shit.
Woo, it would now
that could still happen.
We probably would have hated them too.
Yeah,
but
I still don't hate
again,
them.
that's respectful. I don't hate them either. But again, like no status. You got business on NXT. You are challenging for the NXT World Championship.
You're lucky that
Trent.
You have the opportunity to still create a career because of what you did.
Yeah, and I know, like I said, I know accidents happen.
Definitely an accident.
But then they put in another story. Like I don't like with Owen Hart. And we was just listening to something to wrestle with Owen Hart that I just broke your neck. And Austin didn't like it. They kind of scrapped it. They didn't make the next angle. Okay, Owen has another injury. I think they talked about maybe they did something with Dan to be Severn or something not. That's how he became the Blue Blazer. But then Vince Russo was different back then. But I'm like, Rich, just stay out of this. There's no need to post a photo. Just stay out of this. That's my angry rant. You have any angry rants about this before we go?
Angry rants? No. I love this evolution as, like I mentioned before, as someone who was like, okay, what is next? What's going to excite me about the New Day? I am excited to see what happens. I want to see what havoc Kofi and Xavier fucking like I want to see it all. I want to see them fucking be ridiculous. I want Big E to be on the sides like so disappointed. And if he even turns at some point, I'm with it. Like I'm just for once, I'm very invested in whatever the New Day has going on. And who's to say that Kofi and Xavier are gonna coexist too?
Yeah.
Like who knows? It's so exciting. And I haven't been this excited about something the New Day have been a part of in a very long time. So I'm here for it. On the other note, I do just want to truly thank the New Day for the last 10 years. They have, I'm sure they do have an idea, but the impact that they've had on WWE wrestling, tag team wrestling, the culture, Black wrestling fans, like it has been huge and significant. And I will always thank them for their contribution. And also the New Day pod.
Yeah, New Day pod.
I love the New Day pod. Bring it back if you can.
Well, we know pod is a lot of work. But I want to, thank you for joining me on this episode. Of course. I want to let the people know if you are looking to purchase tickets, do it $20 off, new email by using the code Wrestling Realm on SeatGeek. Also,
you're going to want to go to them basketball games and baseball games, all of that shit. Get concerts. Kendrick just dropped his concert. Use that code. Yeah. Get you some
You've been
tickets.
Using the code.
I do. I have a lot of emails.
Hey, that's the hack. Also, if you're a content creator there, use the link in the bio for Opus Clip. Save you some money. Makes it very easy to, clip. But until the next time, folks, I'm Brian H. Waters. Make sure you follow me at Brian H. Waters on X, Threads, Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky. Brian H. Waters. Be Sky Social. Have it. I don't know. Just search Brian H. Waters. Let the people know where they can find you, those Wrestle Girls, and WWE Meets Pop Culture.
You can find me, Queen PR, everywhere at Queen3_PR. I need to get on Blue Sky, but you can also find me on Instagram. And yes, I'm there, but I need to. I'm not saying skeet, but I will be more active on that platform. But at Queen3_PR, I am still on Instagram, TikTok, and X or whatever. And you can find those Wrestling Girls everywhere as well. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us everywhere on social media, because we have very exciting news coming for 2025 that I'm very excited for. Shout out to my co-host Krista B, and thank you, Brian H. Waters, for having me.
Of course. Make sure y'all check out Championship Culture each and every Tuesday night. Check out Wrestling Realm, Wrestling Realm Now podcast. And also, there was a recent episode of the Wrestling Realm OG edition with myself, the real Dwayne Allen, following Survivor Series. So make sure you do want to check that out. Until the next time, folks, so long, everybody.